Big Biz Show on the air, 110 million broadcast television homes across the country. Also, you know, we operate on radio, Michael.
Yes.
On American Forces Radio Network, 175 countries and all the tips to see. Great to have you along. We're brought to you by Prudential. Let Prudential be your rock for retirement. Also brought to you by Bayer Advanced. Better science, better results. Starbucks Coffee is a sponsor, of course. Bloomin' Brands and their fine family of restaurants, including Outback Steakhouse with authentic Australian food, Fleming Steakhouse and the like. Of course, Russ T. Nail's favorite, Carrabba's Italian Grill. Who doesn't like to walk into a pair of Carrabba's? Send us a picture of your favorite Carrabba's. BigBizShow.com.
Didn't he bruise his Carrabba's one year?
Yes, he did. Northwest Biotherapeutics, First Wave Bio, Imagine AR, and of course, 22nd Century Corporation. Thank you, friends. Just like that. That's power, isn't it, Dan? Just point your finger, the music stops. That's what Dan Negroni's all about too. Dan Negroni, of course, wrote this book called Chasing Relevance. Don't chase relevance as a next-gen leader. Create it, Mike.
Okay.
Dan and I have known each other for many, many years. I consider him one of my closest friends. And then he decided to quit being a lawyer, and we became really good friends then.
Yeah. Wow.
And I love the journey that you went on when you decided, I ain't working for the man anymore, because you were very successful as a corporate attorney, as a private attorney, and then all of a sudden you got this heart for millennials back in the day.
Yeah, well, I had a career as an entrepreneur and a business guy in there in between some, and I was still practicing law, but in companies.
But what was the germination point? What was the genesis of?
I just got tired of working for, you can use whatever four-letter word you want.
Right.
About the people. I just got tired of working for people that were stepping all over themselves and getting in their own way and not making sure that people matter.
But then what got you to the lane of the millennial?
I think, well, actually today is my son's 30th birthday. So
Millennial?
Yes, but he was graduating college. Mm-hmm. And, you know, after that huge check for 4 years at Boston College, I was like, what the heck's he going to do? And who's going to talk to him? And how's he going to find a living? And everyone was just so negative on millennials. And it just bothered me because he and all his friends were great. Mm-hmm. They just were young.
Yeah, right.
And so why couldn't we figure it out? And we have been.
Because keep in mind, Mike, age and treachery beat youth and inexperience every time. So he wanted to arm the young and inexperienced.
This is what's gonna happen.
Or where youth and experience meet is where magic happens.
That's exactly.
Either way.
That's exactly
right.
So and I'm going through a little history here because you've morphed and evolved as a brand and as a company.
I hope so.
Of course,
as a human.
Launchbox365.com is a website, and of course he's a speaker, he's a CEO, he's a coach, he's a consultant, he's an athlete, he's the chief launch officer of Launchbox. But from there, you went into writing a book about it, and of course talking about the fact
which was fun. I have to say that was fun. Well, the process of writing.
Well, of course, and also he also not just talked to millennials. He talked about corporations. Look at kids or folks.
Folks, right? Folks.
You better understand their language soon because they're a coming. That was a big lesson.
I think what happened when we wrote the book was we said, how do we bring these sides together? Yeah. And we figured out this way to teach people about themselves so they could connect with others, right? Like the world could use more of that to reduce some polarity. And we figured out this way, and we were doing these seminars. You remember, I was like begging everyone to come.
Yeah, but it was great.
Do them right. And it was great. And they were having all these life-changing moments. And there were old people like me and young people, and they would come together and they would have these life-changing experiences about figuring out who they are and how they could create impact in the world.
When you first started researching it, though, was there was the disconnect massive, much bigger than you thought, or was it just something that, hey, a little here, a little there, and we can bridge it?
I think it's probably like the rest of the world. It feels bad because everyone's got their own opinion, and now, you know, everyone's just squawking about it.
Yeah.
But humans are humans, and people like people. They like being with people. And they want to build something together. We are a social group, humans. There's safety in numbers. I mean, we like relationships. We like we learn better from communication. And we push each other as a society. I mean, there's science behind that. And so when you bring them together, it was way easier than you ever would have thought.
That's so. You know what's interesting, though, is that the result of all that research and all those seminars brought you to one conclusion, and that is employee engagement and people engagement and people finding their why. Talk about all of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it was you got to meet people where they are And in order to meet people where they are, you have to give everyone the tools to be able to do that. And that's understanding themselves.
Right.
So how many kids did you know out there that, of course they don't know what they want to do and they shouldn't,
Right.
but they know who they are. They just don't know how to articulate it and find it. And we don't teach it in school. We do a horrible job in, even in elementary school and high school and college where you're paying big bucks for this, and in graduate school, and the workplace wasn't teaching it. And so all you do is, it's pretty simple actually. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
You help people figure out who they are and what they want to be and what's important to them. And anyone could do it. Actually, what we do now as a science is we teach people how to coach that. I don't care about them finding out their why. I care about them learning the process of how to figure someone's why out.
Because you could reverse engineer what your career's going to be after
They
you
do
find
it.
Right.
They do it. I wish I had a piece of paper that I closed my last keynote with, which was someone saying, hey, we took a 2.5-hour session. I came back to work. I started talking to my people, asking them about who they were, figuring out their whys. We figured out we really liked each other. If we were on the same page, we could do great stuff together. They felt empowered to do it. I realized I was standing in my own way because I didn't have enough time, LOL, right? I gave the time, and the culture's different, and I'm a different human being, and it was a 2-hour course.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dan Negroni is his name, of course, Launchbox365.com. Launchbox is the name of his company, and Chasing Relevance is the name of his book. You talk about the power of the question. Yeah. Talk about the power.
Well, I think that's the process is in order to determine what someone's why is, you have to figure out what their strengths, values, skills, passions, talents are. And it's all about the question you ask, and we don't go deep enough. And so we tend to say, why would you do that instead, which is a bad question. When you're trying to find someone's why, you don't ask why, you say, what about that makes you feel a certain way? Or, right, and then they start, you see this, we did 15 sessions in a row, each 2.5 hours, and you start seeing like at minute 72, they all come alive because that's where you give them the power to start asking each other questions that are deep questions. Like, how do you feel when that's going on? And people start saying, when I was a child, my dad did this and I'm trying to overcome that. Or I grew up, as the youngest of one of 10 and my mother was a drug addict and I've been trying to prove to the world that I want to provide value. And, one woman was saying, I want to be good at the workplace, was a general sales manager of a car dealership. Because one of the other guys was saying, hey, last night I had someone call me to pray with me. And that was one of my parts managers called me, and that's what I do. And the young female sales manager says, how do you do that at work? I feel so exposed and vulnerable when I do that. What allows you to do that? And then they have this conversation, and poof, everyone's crying, and the room opens up, and boom.
Yeah. Dan, I have to ask you, are you focusing more now on employees or employers or both? Because I can see the two sides of the equation, and it seems like you have to teach the same thing to both sides anyway.
You always have had to teach the same thing, so we're focusing on both. And the cool thing now is, we're going to have another recession or an economic bust, whatever it is. But difference from 2008 and 2009 where they said, we're going to do more with less and you're all going to do more with less. What's happening now is people are saying, it was really hard when COVID came. I have people leaving me. The great resignation reshuffle's been going on for 15 months. I'm doubling down on the people that are great for me, and I got to do stuff to keep them. And so I want to figure out how to do more for them because they're my gold and I got to mine my gold. And so that's a really different perspective than when I was knocking on doors. And so the phone starts ringing a lot more. Yeah. People saying, help me do that quickly, economically, efficiently, and help me have these events where people figure out that they can do it together and they can be more.
You talked about last time you were on with us, about how COVID's changed the workplace, and it's changed it forever.
Yeah.
I know you and I have gone on very long bike rides talking about worker of the future.
Yeah.
So now that we have a new metric, working hybrid system, worker of the future, what does that worker of the future look like in your mind?
Yeah, it's so funny. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, I have to do a virtual keynote where we're talking about they have a remote first culture, right? A remote.
Remote first.
Right, which I mean, I don't really know what it means, but it means we're going to be remote first. And it's an event planning business, and they do all this great stuff to bring together communities, and we're trying to figure it out. And so they said to me, we have two ways to go. We can do more in people, or we can do different type of people. And so I said, well, what are examples of more? I mean, more is frequency, right? So give me like 5 examples of more. I said, what are examples of different? Give me 5 more examples of more. No one knows what different is yet. So I think it's a great question. How do you do it differently? Maybe there's a mastermind group. Maybe there's a group of coaching. Maybe there are people that just sit around and talk about it. Maybe you have a mentor. Maybe you are required to be a mentor. I don't know.
You know, this is moving at the speed of light. So I want to see the mark in 12 months, not 3 years, because 12 months from now is going to look completely different in the workplace.
Well,
right?
change, right? Change is not. You don't go put a change management process in. Change is by the second.
Yeah, that's exactly
So
right.
12 months is a long time.
Dan Negroni for president, damn it. I've always said it. One of the most kind, most generous people I know.
I have his badge already. Start running.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. We'll see you very soon. All right, more Big Biz to come. Dan Negroni, launchbox365.com, and go pick up his book, Chasing Relevance. It's also a great bicep.
Super heavy, right?